how to use the slicer in DJ Pro. I'm DJ Spiegel Spin, and I'm going to show you how. In this video, I'm going to show you guys where you could find the slicer, how to use it, when to use it, some creative ideas with it, and then I'm also going to show you guys how to map it into any controller that you may have. So this is the Newmark DJ To Go 2 Touch, and there'll be a link down below if you guys want to get one. I definitely recommend this controller, but let's get into the video. What slicer does is it allows you to separate the beats into sections, and then you could kind of play these like drum pads and get really creative with it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it on DJ Pro. This will also apply if you're using other DJ software. Most of them offer the slicer mode. So to find it in DJ Pro, you're going to need to have access to the waveforms. So if you're in classic mode, you could press the middle button to open the waveforms. And now up here, there's a little button by the one that comes down and it opens the waveform menu. So now up here, you're going to go and click slice. So now let's play the song. So this is the song playing without slicer on. You see the waveforms are normal. Now if we turn on slice mode, it's going to separate them. See, it's separating them. Each one of these rectangles as if they were like cue points or samples on the pads, or you could just do it on the screen. So if you're planning to do this effect, I would recommend doing it on 2-deck mode because you have the easiest access. But this is also available on any mode that gives you access to the waveforms. So just find the waveforms and then go over here and you could have it on slicer mode. Now you could also, if you press the library button, take it off, and now you have a big access to the waveforms, and now you'll be able to slice them much better. So this is the screen that I would recommend it if you're using it with just the iPad and without a controller, or even if you plan on using it with a controller. This screen, it makes it like basically like a keyboard, and you could play parts of the song like a keyboard or like a sampler. So find songs that sound good. Take your favorite songs. It works really good with EDM songs. So find the great EDM song, and then during the drop or during the breakdown, make your own little beats, and then you'll be making your favorite song that you play all the time. You'll make it a little bit more of your own, and you'll add a little more unique style, changing, mixing up the song, and creating your own melody and creating your own style of the song. So it'll be different than if they just listen to it on YouTube or listen to it on Spotify, because only you could play it like that using the slicer mode. So that's how you turn on the slicer mode, and this is how, and then you could turn off and on, and then you could also have the controller mapped so that when you could turn it on and off with the controller, so you don't have to go up into the menu and find the little button. So I'm going to show you guys how to map it in the mapping settings. Although it works perfectly well if you're just using the iPad and not a controller, but it could get a little bit annoying to find the turn on slicer and then look at the little waveforms and then try to pound on the iPad screen. So slicer mode really shines when you have a controller plugged in and you map it correctly. So I'm going to show you guys an example of how you can map this controller, but the same thing would apply to any other controller you have. The principle is the same. So let's go over here. When you have a controller plugged in, you go over to MIDI devices, you find your controller, and now we're going to find the target. So this is the button that we're going to assign. So for this example, I'm just going to use the left headphone button, because when I use this controller, I use sync and I don't really use the headphones that much. And when you move the crossfader over, it changes the headphone orientation anyway, so you don't really need these buttons. I think they're a waste, so I always program something cool in them. So now this target is going to be deck 1, and then the action, go all the way down, because you can literally map anything, just about. And now this is the slicer. So we're going to do slicer activated. Boom. Save. Done. So now, if we look over here, slicer's off, and then we press our button, boom, slicer's on. So now we're DJing and you want to go into a slicer routine, boom. And now we're going to program these buttons to be the buttons. Instead of pressing the buttons 1, 2, and 3 on the screen, we're going to have this to be 1 to 4. So you're not going to get all of them, but if you have a bigger controller, then you'll be able to have more buttons. But this is just for an example. So now we're going to go back to our map. And obviously when you guys do this, do the same thing for the right side. Map that deck 2 slicer on, because the slicer is specific to the deck that you're using. So we're going to go over here, press this button. It's really easy to find the buttons that you want to map. You just press it and it automatically brings you there. So now it's already on deck 1, and we're going to have it set. We're going to have it set, go all the way down, and it's going to be slice 1. Save, go back, press another one, action, slice 2, save, boom, slice 3. I'm not going to do all of them. This is just for the example, but just so we have 3 so we could do a little routine with it. Boom. And now, you see up here where it says MIDI configuration? This is the saved settings for the controller. So you could have multiple. So this one we're going to name. Save. This one's going to save. And then we're going to edit it. We're going to click it, edit, rename. Rename. And now we're going to new mark DJ to go to touch slicer. Rename. Done. Time you plug this controller in, if you're not in the mood, you can have it in the regular settings, and then you could go switch it over to slicer. So different routines, different types of DJ sets, you might want to have different layouts on your controller. So one could be for slicing, another one could be for scratching, and you could add effects to the different buttons. Just get creative with it and have your controller mapped for you. You don't have to go by what they put on the controller. It is fully mappable, and I recommend taking full advantage. So let's see what we got here. Now we'll go back, done. Let's play the track. And we're doing 1, 2, that's the 3. And if you look at the numbers on the waveforms, we're pressing 1, it's hitting 1, we're pressing 2, it's hitting 2, pressing 3, it's hitting 3, and then 4. So this is only going to be for this deck. So if you wanted to program all 8, you'd only be able to do it on one deck. So just be aware that you could do slicer on the left deck for your controller to do slicer, but that's fine. So when you plan on doing the slicer, just have it in the deck that it's mapped to. All my videos where I teach you new stuff, I'm also going to teach you guys how to map it with controllers, because although DJ Pro is awesome to use with just an iPad or just a phone, adding the controller adds a whole new element. And with them taking away the headphone jack in the iPads and the phones, and you'd have to get all kinds of adapters. With a small controller like this with a sound card, main output in, headphones out. Subscribe to my channel. I make DJing videos every day.